Yo, what's up guys? It's Mark and welcome to my video. Dramatic, yeah. Anyways, today I'm going to be reading my Common App essay that got me into Notre Dame and Georgetown, as well as these schools. And got me rejected from these schools. And waitlisted at these schools. Which, you know, basically rejection in a nice way. So, let's get right into it. Alright, but before we get into it, we should probably go over my stats, because, you know, they're pretty important, unfortunately. Alright, so, here's my GPA. It was on a 4.0 weighted scale, which means that APs were worth 4.66 if you got above a 92. Regular classes were worth 4.0 if you got above a 92. And honors classes were worth 4.33 if you got above a 92. I got a 1560 on the SAT. However, I sent all my score reports, and I also got a 1400 and a 1420 a couple months before, so colleges also got to see that. Moreover, since I decided to send all my scores, they also got to see my SAT subject test scores. Yay! As you can see, they're not so great, but I sent them anyway. And finally, here are my APs. So as you can see, I got a decent number of 5s, but also a 4 and a 3 on AP Lang. All right. So, if you didn't know, Common App has about 7 different prompts which you can choose from to write to. They're pretty generic prompts, so you can pretty much write about anything. But even so, I had a pretty difficult time thinking of what I was going to write about. So if you're like me and you're having trouble getting started, or you just need some tips on how to make your Common App the perfect Common App, there is a link to the video in the description below. But the prompt I eventually started writing to was this. The lessons we take from the obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you face a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? However, towards the end, I started realizing it kind of sounded similar to prompt 1 also, which is some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So this essay was kind of about my background coming from an international school and how I adjusted to that. And that was also super integral to my application, I felt, and I felt like I couldn't leave it out. And it also was an obstacle, so you'll see that in a moment. All right, let's get started. So I think I was pretty satisfied with my essay at the time, but I haven't read it since, and honestly, I'm kind of nervous because, I don't know, your old writing, it's never as good as you thought it was, right? Anyway, here we go. For most people, eating a bag of chips is not a defining moment in their lives. For me, the bag of chips featuring an exuberant orange cartoon whale was the snack that taught me how to bridge cultural differences. When I was 6 months old, my parents flew from Chicago, Illinois to the coastal city of Qingdao, China. Ever since we arrived, the world around me has always seemed like an endless prompt. Why do people on the street stare at me? Am I different as a biracial foreigner in China, even if I am conversationally fluent in Chinese? When people call me a 混血, mixed blood, is it complimentary or not? With these questions still whizzing around, I transitioned from homeschool to an international school, which is comprised of 85% Korean students. Launched into this new environment, the 10-year-old me was in a tough spot. Not only did I need to develop the savvy to survive the social complexities of a school setting, but I also had to forge an identity flexible enough to navigate 3 different cultures simultaneously. Unsurprisingly, I failed. I'd been excited by the prospect of making new friends, but I soon felt socially, culturally, and linguistically isolated. The epitome of a new kid. However, I had one saving grace. On the second day of school, my mom packed me a small turquoise bag of chips. My mouth watered thinking about my delicious, crunchy snack, featuring the happy whale on the front. When the recess bell finally rang, I hungrily tore into the bag as the savory flavors erupted in my mouth, followed by that satisfying crunch. I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had finally found something familiar and comforting at school. Moments after I got that first chip in my mouth, a Korean student meandered by, smiled kindly, and asked me, "Can I have some?" Taken by surprise, I mumbled something
A few moments later.
Stay. Taken by surprise, I mumbled something incoherent, which he took as consent and grabbed himself a small handful. Suddenly, like a feeding frenzy of baby piranhas, excited by the sight of food, most of my new classmates converged on me, smiling, grabbing, and happily munching away on my chips. Seconds later, I was holding an empty bag. At that moment, it seemed like my new classmates were taking advantage of me, and it felt wrong, except it wasn't. The tension I felt started when I made an assumption about my classmates' culture. As the chips disappeared, I negatively interpreted my classmates' intentions, because I assumed that they adhered to my American culture. In my culture, people taking food without permission is considered some form of stealing or bullying. In Korean culture, it was actually a sign of acceptance. When I looked around, I was shocked to see my classmates happily sharing their snacks with everyone around them. I soon discovered that Korean culture is very 집단주의, community-oriented, sorry if I butchered that, and that there was no concept of my food within community. So when my classmates took the chip, it was actually an act of inclusion. Now, whenever I gladly share and receive a handful of chips with my classmates, I'm reminded to keep an open mind about everyone. I used to be bothered by the assumptions people on the street made about me as a foreigner. After all, understanding cultural differences is not easy. On some days, escaping reality through a bag of chips seems easier. However, I learned that the key is not to let my assumptions bother me. Now, whenever a stranger on the street stares at me, I smile back and try to start a conversation with them. My culture is not any better or worse than theirs. It's just different. I still have a lot to learn about cultural tension, and the best place to start is with myself, changing one assumption at a time. All right, so that was my Common App essay. If you enjoyed the essay, please hit that beautiful, amazing, gray like button down in the description. It would really help me a lot. Or if you didn't like it, you can hit the dislike button too. It's all right. But then that will happen. It will suck. Stay. My initial thoughts are that it was not bad. I like how it focused on me adapting to a new situation in a kind of vivid way, I hope. It gave off that kind of new kid vibe that I feel like a lot of people can relate to, and it showed me adapting and adjusting to a situation, and I tried to hit on my understanding of cultures. However, a friend later told me that he's like, "Bro, you don't understand American culture. Americans share too." And I'm like, oh, shoot, you're right. So actually, it might have ended up being a weak point in my essay. Not quite sure. Honestly, I had a really hard time thinking of something to write about because I haven't really had too many significant challenges in my life. And I was like, I don't really have any interesting cultural background so this is what it ended up being. I think I really stood out in my supplements, which are in the video linked in the description, because I felt like the supplemental essays really gave me an opportunity to be more creative and be more specifically geared towards that school, which I think they really appreciated. So if you want to see that, please check it out down in the description or at the end of the video. All right, that's all for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more student-related content in the future. All right, see you in the next video.
G-A.